So, as you probably know, Mark, I'm not very techy when it comes to computers and things.
Well, you do okay. You do all right.
Well,
You're talking on me to this now, so
one of Michael, my son's cousins, who is around the same age as what he is a millionaire. I could even stick my neck out and say he's a multimillionaire, as his company, which for all intents and purposes, I'm sure these days it does more, but basically it makes apps for your electronic devices. He spends his time straddling the equator, spending time in Paraíba here in Brazil, and, well, I suppose Silicon Valley in the US. I don't know where he goes to in the US, but he's always been two countries. Now, I may be wrong on some points, but the basic points are correct if what Michael tells me is true. Now, one would have thought that history would have taught us something, especially if it's recent history, which most of us can remember. It seems the investor class in the US, may not have genned up about internet companies and how they crashed when the tech bubble finally went pop. Back in the day, investors would place big bucks in startups, bad ideas, and companies that didn't actually produce anything. And as there was so much frenzy to invest, something had to give. And of course, it did.
mm,
The Nasdaq dropped 78% from its 2002 record high. People were hurling themselves off of buildings because of the implosion.
yeah.
So, bringing it all up to date, Sundar Pichai, he's the top dog of Alphabet. That's the parent firm of Google.
Yes.
He said recently to Auntie Beeb, to the BBC,
Yes.
if what they are saying is true,
Well, yeah,
a good night,
I
a
won't
good drive.
dismiss I won't dismiss everything. Yeah, but yeah,
I'm sure what he said has been edited. But
yeah,
anyway,
yeah. I know what you're saying. Yes, yeah.
he says that there has been a lot of irrational investment in companies that deal with AI.
Mm.
High amounts of investment with not much justification behind it. Uh, he said that if this AI bubble burst, the smaller companies and also those companies who are running on thin margins are going to feel the hurt most.
Yeah, well, yeah,
Basically, they're going to go to the wall.
yeah, of course, yeah.
And there seems to be a kind of shh all over the world tonight, as the
Mm.
seekers would say, as it looks like the AI bubble is on its way to bursting.
Yeah.
Since last week, the blue chip index of the FTSE dropped 3%, and there are rumblings afoot.
Mm.
Uh, a decent barometer of all things electronic, AI and things
Yeah.
like that. Bitcoin has
Mm.
lost all of its gains for this year.
Let's say about this, yeah.
Uh, it's not a good sign.
Mm.
Uh, the backroom boys at Silicon Valley have been discussing if companies are overvalued. Alphabet man Pichai also said the tech sector can overshoot in investment cycles such as this. We can look back at the internet right now. There was clearly a lot of excess investment, but none of us questioned whether the internet was profound. In other words, if the internet was worth all of that money that was invested.
Yeah. Yeah.
I expect AI to do the same, he said. So as the storm clouds gather, Peter Thiel, he's a top dog at Nvidia.
Mm.
He sold his whole stock with that company, around £76 million worth. He's already flopped it. SoftBank also sold off its shares in Nvidia to the tune of £4.4 billion.
Mm.
JP Morgan also threw a cat amongst the pigeons when it said that there had been a lot of investment in AI companies, and for sure, some of that money will be lost, which it means most.
Yeah.
You have to read between the lines here, people.
Yes.
And as the old wooden ship sails on over the next few weeks, we'll find out if it was as seaworthy as it was thought to be. Those creaks and groans coming from below the deck might just be a warning not to go to deeper sea. Or will it head straight for the nearest iceberg?
Okay. Right. Okay. Well, you know,
Cautionary tale.
yeah. Well, I've been sort of following this because obviously I've got a
You're techie techie. You're
yeah.
more
I
techie.
wouldn't say it's techie. I'm probably techie without
Yeah.
techie. But I find these things interesting because who wouldn't find? I mean, okay, I have an engineering background,
Yeah.
electronics, and who wouldn't find AI interesting? Remember, I've got a book that dates back from the
Me,
1980s here, which talks about artificial intelligence. Yeah,
I would.
yeah. Well, okay, you wouldn't find it. Yeah, okay, but um, but what do we mean by artificial intelligence? Um, I prefer, and this is only my own expression, and I'm probably going to have a lot of engineers jump up and down and criticize me for it. I prefer the term not artificial intelligence, applied intelligence. Yeah. Um, which means that I can tell a computer to do something and it will go off and do it. It may have some autonomy when it's doing it now. That's the difference, yeah. I think most of us think our computers have some autonomy anyway, just doing basic functions sometimes when they go off into their own world. Um, but yeah, it's a sorry, not applied information. Sorry, not intelligence, applied information, because it's only as good as the information you put in. We used to call it garbage in, garbage out. It's more sophisticated than those systems. Um, now, does AI have a place in the modern world? Of course it does. It's a useful tool. If I want to know something quickly, I can look it up in a book, or if I want to know something online, it saves me going through thousands and thousands of internet sites on occasions. But I still have to use some critical thinking to analyze what it is. Now, this is a user end, a very basic form of use of artificial intelligence, almost insulting to it. Yeah. Can you tell me what the capital of China is and what the population is there? Bang. It's on the top of your screen with Google or one of the other
Yeah.
AI
What you're
providers.
saying that what you're saying is what artificial intelligence is,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to get to grips on
Yeah.
what's going to happen with the companies behind
Yeah.
artificial.
I'm going into this. Now, it's all about usering. Yeah. You can produce a product, okay, that people might use or might not use. The problem with always going to be with tech, what does it actually manufacture? It doesn't do anything. Yeah. It doesn't, it's got nothing behind it. Which is what you're saying. Nothing is showing up. People will use it or not use it. How does it make money? So the only way I can see that when I'm using AI to find out about something is it tries to sell me a brand or something like that, the sponsorship. Yeah, that's the only way I could see to do it. I'm not saying it does or doesn't do that. Yeah, that's how one way to make money. You could sell the data. Obviously, the other extreme is you sell the data so that you look up something, I look up something. It says people are looking up this. Yeah. And this data then gets sold on to other companies, advertising companies, etc. Yep. That would be one facet of it making money. Everything has to make money in our world. You got to carry the research and development costs, which is what it is. You ultimately you've got to pay for your programmer to sit there programming it in, telling it what to do or how to do its algorithms. To a certain extent, it should be self-learning, but it's still got to be told how to do things. It's still got to be monitored. Yep. Even checking that it's not about to do something that's crazy, almost, I imagine. So these companies doing it, they don't produce anything, but they use other pieces of data from elsewhere. So, I mean, what happens with new technology? This always happens. You go in the history of things. Cars, for instance. There used to be hundreds of car manufacturers at the turn of the last century. That's gotten down to a few now, and it's actually decreasing. If you actually look at seeing who owns all the car companies, there's only about 3 or 4 main companies now. Yeah, it went down from, I think it was 100, 200 to 70 at one point, and then considered very quickly, and then considered to go. This happens with new technology. People jump on the wave. Bringing it up to date, yes, people jumped on the internet. The internet is no doubt an incredible innovation. I won't say invention, it's an innovation. It has enabled a lot of other things to happen, some good, some bad. And what you are discussing now is the dot-com bubble burst. Was it in the 90s? When people invested in people being able to buy things online. And some companies succeeded because they had a good solid business base, traditional solid business base. They were actually producing something or been able to do it out. Amazon, for example, is a success company from the dot-com. Remembering that a lot of our streaming services had their start there as well. Some made it, some didn't. That happens in businesses. How the technology gets used, how the innovations are done, what other innovations come on the back of this technology, new technology. Yeah. And this is what's probably actually happening, is a leveling out, or if in fact the industry is beginning to find out what it is. I never bought that AI was going to be as revolutionary as we say it is. We've got podcasts going back 2 years. Well, I said that.
Well, who knows about that are the people in the back room.
Yeah.
That's the first. Secondly, I'm trying to keep on track with the investments into it. Right. Yeah. There was an article that you showed me the other day of a guy on LinkedIn.
Yeah, just right.
And he said that companies like Amazon are bought too much AI and don't know what to do. Well, I think he's got his little bit muddled there. It could be that Amazon has invested in an AI company that isn't producing what it should do, and therefore, it's going to be a hit for Amazon. But in terms of what you can do with AI, that's another story. What we need to do is concentrate on this, because when companies don't produce what they're expected to produce, or investors decided to withdraw their investments whilst they can, that scenario is what I'm trying to look at.
Yeah, well,
because when we come back to the dot-com bubble, right? A lot of companies went to the wall, and I think Amazon was one, because at Amazon it started off just selling books, and then it failed, and Bezos, he brought it back from the ashes.
Well, okay, yeah, I mean,
and so we can look back in history, and we need to learn that the investors need to learn is what I'm investing in worthwhile? Because a lot of these dot-com companies back in the day, they didn't actually do anything.
Well, that's the point I'm trying to make. Is I mean, Amazon was selling a product. You've got a physical product in your hand. Now Amazon have gone into streaming services, etc. I mean,
of course. Now it has. Of course it has.
Yeah.
Of course it has, because companies need to expand and they need to do other things. Of course. I'm talking about these investors who were investing in companies that apparently have nothing.
Well, that's it. That's what an AI. That's what point I'm making. How does an AI research and development organization make money? It can use data, sell data onto a third party, which is exactly what Facebook is an AI company as an example. That's what they make money. AI can only make money from that. Other applications for AI, and that's what I'm talking about. What are the investors buying? That's what I'm trying to lead to.
The only thing I can see
is, well, I'm going to say, okay, I could AI, for example, the example I used with someone I was talking to the other day, who has a factory. and every so often packaging strapping comes loose, or before it gets sent out. Could put a camera with AI on it where the straps are meant to be, and it would see it, and it would be more efficient than a human, or it would flag up to humans something's wrong with this thing, and it gets loaded on the lorry, and then your product ends up on the back of the floor of the lorry. Yeah, AI could probably do that 24/7 without complaining. Bah, 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 bah. Yeah, it would know where the strap's meant to be, and that's what it is. It's applied information. This is what it will do. Be an AI system doing that. I mean, people was it's a checking system, but yes, it makes a decision there and then. Is this good? Is this bad? Because you don't want to be notifying someone every 2 minutes. Something like that, or other AI systems that could probably go into checking, checking the insides of dangerous areas. Ultimately, we rely on human beings, but could send back data would know whether that looks interesting. I'll go there, but it's still not.
We need to find the companies, or the investors.
Yeah,
need to find the companies that are developing this sort of stuff.
Well, this is it. Yeah.
You talk about AI. We can talk about AI in medicine if you like.
Well, I mean, again, it uses data. It uses data, and it can probably see patterns.
Its ability, for example, to do a MRI, IMR, I suppose, IMR
scan, on a brain or something, or a body, and see pattern. I mean, again, it's looking for patterns that humans may or may not see, but ultimately it will still then report to a human who will say, "Cool, that looks interesting." And yes, it could probably.
What I'm trying to get at, Mark, is that the AI one, the machine. I know this because this is a doctor. I've been to a lot.
Yeah.
A guy, an operator showed me that if you did it traditionally, you could only do slithers of a patient.
Yeah, of course.
Right. Yeah. With the MRI, you can start. He started off with my son's head, full of hair.
Yeah.
And he went down and down and down and down. It made my son bald.
Yeah.
And then went down and down, took his skin off, just showed his skull.
Yeah.
And then went down and down, just showed his brain. That's what you can do with AI and the MRI scans.
Yes.
So yes, it does have its uses because it gives flexibility. But what I'm trying to get at is that there are new companies coming on the scene that have been heavily invested in, just like the .com companies came on the scene, heavily invested in, and then they just had a crash. When they had a crash, that traumatized the financial world. Because, like I said, 78% of the value of the Nasdaq. That's a huge chunk of change.
Yeah, but when we're talking investors, before you invest money, shouldn't you be understanding?
Well, one would have thought one would have thought you should be.
But
they didn't show that in the .com time.
No,
when everything
and I agree. Yeah,
it appears following what these guys have been saying, the head of Alphabet and that JP Morgan, he said yes, people have been investing far too much for far too little.
Well, this is it. Yeah, what is the potential? Understanding things. I could go to invest in my company, and you say, what products are you producing? Well, I haven't quite got the details all finalized yet, but this is my business proposal. There's a big difference between a business proposal and a plan, but yes, I will try and sell you a proposal, and it's almost like the program we have here, Shark's Tank or Dragon's Den.
Dragon's Den, yeah.
This is it, and I have to sell you what the potential is in the future for growth. And these guys sit there, sometimes thinking this guy's talking, or this person's on a cuckoo land, there's potential here, and then they'll try and get a bigger chunk of the pie, as it were, for a lower investment, and that's how things should be. Yes, people get greedy. People want exciting investments, and they put they put money in expecting big returns. It doesn't always happen. That's how stock markets work.
I can understand them wanting to be the first in that sort of.
Okay, the breakthrough, but that costs that's sometimes a dangerous thing, because that can cost you a lot in research and development and everything else. There are some companies that try not to be the first, It's much easier to build on other people's knowledge, ideas. Yeah.
I just worry about the state of the financial world
Well,
when
yes.
when this balloon bursts and people are starting to throw themselves off the big business, big buildings.
Yeah, okay. Well, 1920s, late 1920s, 30s again. But it's um the thing is, we're in a rapidly moving world now. I mean, none of us can predict in technology. You got Arthur C. Clarke talking in the 60s about the way that things are going now. There's a video from BBC in 1964 where he's talking at a trade fair, World Trade Fair, about the future. I mean, he's about 10, 20 years out in what he said because he was using 2000 as a focus, and he probably didn't quite hit there.